Welcome back. Welcome to Mentality Unleashed. So we're getting straight into it this week. This week we're going to talk about stress from a man's perspective. So, gents, how's your week been for a start? And how's your stress levels today?
Fucking stressful, man.
Yeah, you called it, Brendan. My dad, God bless him, is almost 93. We're glad he's with us on the right side of the ground, but he's not paying his bills and I'm trying to take it over. And lo and behold, he was doing it. Verizon canceled his cell phone, Bank America canceled his Visa, and he's yelling at them. And it's a nightmare. It's just so much going on.
The struggles of
So
men.
trying to alleviate your dad's stress has created a lot of stress for you.
Mm.
Yeah, and he keeps saying, I want you to be calm and have time for yourself, and I'm making this easy. And I'm like, every time you do something, it's double and triple the work.
Oh, mate. Absolutely.
Mm.
Stress is huge, isn't it? Richie, what's your week been like?
So there's a saying that I've come up with that as the president of a charity, if you're not stressed and you're not busy, then you're not doing your job properly. Which sounds crazy, but I was chatting to Sean, who's the president of Towns for Troops, and he was saying that between kind of working full time family, and then he's got himself a new job as well on top of that, and he's running the charity as well. He said he's just constantly moving, and I said that's how I think we're meant to be in certain roles in life. Certainly for me as a provider, that's the way that I feel I am. I always want to be moving because someone said to me, you need to take a day off. You need to take some time on yourself. Actually, I think it was Eric who said it to me. He said, dude, you need to just take some time off. And I was like, if I take some time off, I'll feel like I stopped. And if I feel like I stopped, then where do I start again? How do I
You'll
start
feel
again?
you'll feel like you're behind, and then there'll be more stress.
That's
Brendan,
exactly it.
Brendan, when I told that to Richie, I did think he needed a break, but I was kidding because his to-do list is so high. Didn't really want him to take a day off because who cares?
Yeah.
I know.
If you saw my lists, honestly, it's just this book is half full already of lists that I have to
Is
achieve.
that like the list that your wife has for you, or is that like the mentality matters list?
That's pure mentality matters list. The
The honeydew list is the other list.
that's the don't even that we won't touch on that list. Not today. We haven't got long enough. But with Veterans Day coming up, it's wild at the moment. We're trying to get everything in place. Funding's the big one for charities. Finding the funding towards the end of the year so you can fund the programs to help the individuals next year. I think that's the big weight that's on my shoulders at the moment. Is you have to find it from somewhere, and whether that's donations in the form of cash or whether that's something else, we have to find it because ultimately, if we and this is kind of it's my perspective. I mean, if I don't find that money for the charity, then our programs don't continue. If our programs don't continue, then men will continue to kill themselves. And if we're not here, who's going to do that work? Because we found that there was a big gap that we fell into, and we're like, oh, we're going to bridge this gap, stop people from falling into it. But if we take that bridge away, then, how many guys every day are going to kill themselves? So it's a lot of pressure to try and find that money, try and find, those avenues that we have to, sponsorships, donations. It's crazy. And I was saying I didn't realize it was going to be this kind of role when I started this, because actually now I feel that I'm responsible for all those guys out there who, we can physically touch and help. I'm responsible for them as a president, and our charity is responsible to look after them. So if we don't get that funding, then who's going to look after these guys? And then ultimately, where are they going to go with it? So it's a lot of pressure, a
A lot of
real.
pressure. Richie, we had two big milestones this week at Mentality Matters, right? Tell us about
Ooh.
those.
So
Yeah, hit
we
me with
don't
it, man.
have we don't have the magazine yet, because it's not out until this week coming, but we have been sent. So it's Westchester Magazine. We've got quite a large piece in here, which I was very surprised. A, how
Right, hey
great a
man, there he
look.
is.
I can't
How
believe they
great a
didn't
look.
feature me though. They featured
Oh,
him.
look at that
Oh,
good
there
looking
we
chap
go.
there. Come on.
There's
That
the
good
eye
looking guy
candy.
stood right next to me.
There
I
he
tell you.
is.
He's the looks and I'm the brains. That's what I say. But
I don't know. I would
yeah.
say it's the other way around, my friends.
Master Blaster.
Two, we got two brain cells between us. But
Yeah,
yeah, no,
my
it's
uncle used to
amazing.
say two half-wits make a nitwit, you know?
That's exactly what we are. Absolutely. But do you know it was amazing because we they reached out to us because they'd heard about what we were doing, and Paul, the editor, he did, we did an hour's phone call. He's written a fantastic piece for us and the charity as a whole. And it's just fantastic. It's going to go out to 700,000 people. I think they have subscribers. So it was actually my brother said to me, he said if 10% of those subscribers read it, that's 70,000 people who will see your face and hear the charity's name. And I was like, that's epic. It's kind of we wouldn't have been able to achieve that without Westchester Magazine. So we're very grateful for them.
I just want you to know, though, Richie, since our pictures are in there, I was praying that they won't run away from us. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
Hey,
You know what though?
you
It's not all Hollywood. You know what I mean? We're not all
Not all
first
Hollywood.
thanks.
I was going to
And
say
how about,
these lines are real.
yeah, they're just starting. They're just starting, unfortunately. But beats the
Yeah.
alternative. Richie, tell us about the Veterans Day Parade, though. That's a huge one, too.
Mm. So the second part, yeah. So I got to know, and I think we mentioned it last week a little bit, but we got to know Mark Otto, who is the lead individual on. He runs the Veterans Parade for New York. He's such an amazing guy, and he offered us to come and do VIP, and we're going to the after event to meet all the VIPs, which is an odd thought that I'm classed as a VIP too, which for me was like it's something you got to get your brain around. Like I saw myself in this magazine, and I was like, that's me in there, and that's going out to the whole of New York. And I know it's Westchester County based, but actually there's a lot more people who subscribe all over the country.
But yeah, man.
So it's weird. It's really
It's
weird.
out
And,
there. Yeah.
wait, absolutely, yeah, yeah. I know we're doing the podcast, but we get our faces out there, and over time this will grow. But still trying to get your head around that side of it, that you have to be, I don't know, it's not famous, but you have to have some kind of Kevlar put on because with fame comes other stuff. So yeah, I'm still trying to get my head around that. Like, this has grown super fast, this charity, or non-profit, as I've been told I have to call it. But yeah, ultimately it's fantastic. It's fun. It's fun to do. I wake up every day. I work Saturday, Sundays because I can. And our end goal is to, on two parts really, cut down that stigma, get rid of it, change the landscape, the language that surrounds, what we call a mental fitness, and save lives. There's a lot of amazing men, and I wrote a piece the other day. It was for our decades. We between kind of Eric and I, and more so Eric. Credit totally to you. But I put kind of compiled it into a document where it describes what we're going to be doing as a charity or a non-profit for the next 10 years. And when I was doing it, the realization was that every man that's killed themselves today, it was preventable. And every man that killed themselves yesterday, it was preventable. And the same with the veterans, and the same with the first responders that we work with. All these deaths, someone could have stepped in at some point and helped them, but no one did.
There's at least, at the very minimum, a strong possibility that, you know what I mean, where they would have paused. They could have had a moment to pause before something happened.
Yeah.
Even if we just can give them a pause, then I don't think, I mean, I don't want you to have too much on your shoulders, man. I mean, like, you can't carry the weight of the world in your head either, you know? Um, we, we aren't people's, I mean, people have, I won't say their own free will, but people will do what they're going to do. It's just, we need to, well, we want to make sure that we're there so that they know what all their options are, so that they're not alone, that they're supported, and that they get a chance to talk about it. You know,
Yeah.
you can yeah. I mean, we're gonna start talking about suicide here, man. This is the, you
Hey,
know, you. I mean, as long as because the ruminating thought after thought after thought, just over and over and over, and
yeah.
then it. I know you, and I know Eric, and me. We all wished we all had friends that someone could have just interrupted that thought process, even for a moment.
Mm.
That might have
Hmm.
been enough to do it.
Mm.
Um, I do have friends that they didn't speak to anybody. It appeared by all rights that they didn't want to speak to anybody, and they decided to take their life, and they did. But
Mm.
I would say most people they want to speak about it. Like they do want.
Mm.
They're just afraid. They're afraid to talk about it. They're
Yeah.
afraid to
Brendan,
hear it aloud.
Brendan,
They're afraid to hear their own
Yeah.
voice doing it. You know, what's up,
Yeah.
Eric?
Brendan, Brendan, share with us some of the things that you and Richie are planning on some of these online coaching, because while not everyone can get to a live retreat that Mentality Matters is putting together
Oh, hey, man.
necessarily, tell
Yeah,
us
yeah.
about
I
those
mean,
because those are really accessible to everybody.
yeah. I mean, um, even if you're sitting there on a Friday night, you're not sure what you want to do, or if it's a Tuesday morning and you're coming off a night shift or something, before you go to sleep, or if you've got a break in the day, you can just we've got a couple of them already done. We did a talk on resilience, and we did a talk on anger, so you can just have a watch. And we've got another one coming up, which is going to be a talk on resilience. I think we're doing that in November, Richie. Is that right?
Yeah, so it kind of fits really well with it being Veterans Month. Um, so talking about resilience and it's the steps really. The whole point in the workshop is that, we have a point A all the way through to the Z and then back round again. So there's going to be steps that you can take and for individuals who are watching this or are listening to this on more so on the audio podcasts, um, you can jump in at any point and
Yeah.
you'll take something away. That's really important. Just because you may have missed A and B doesn't mean that you won't take something away from C. And it's all quite pertinent. Brendan does all the coaching, absolutely amazing. And it absolutely fits what we suffer from as men. So being able to talk from experience, which I know
Half
you've
of
got a
it,
lot of.
half of the reason why we suffer is because we're suffering alone.
Yeah,
It's the loneliness.
yeah,
If we could just
yeah.
if we could get rid of the loneliness and the isolation, we would
Mm,
half the suffering. In my heart, I
yeah.
think that's true. You just half of the suffering would be gone, and the rest, maybe we could deal with together as a group.
You
Um,
Yeah.
know, interesting point. In 2006, February, I left the marital residence when I got separated. And I went from a house of five, even though it was a difficult environment, to a house of one. And even though it was across town, I really felt that. And it was a tough time. I had been laid off the year before, and I was a few years before that, I was kind of underemployed, right? So you lose hope. And the thing was, thank God my mom was alive and she was really helpful, and my parents, and I have a bunch of good friends. And they kept saying, go out and meet people. Don't just sit in your apartment watching, streaming. Don't watch Netflix or whatever. Get out there and communicate with people. And I think what really kept it together was, I have three amazing children, so they needed me and I wanted to be with them. And also, the hope that at some point the light would come on and the clouds would go away. And thankfully they ultimately did. But the trick, and I was not suicidal, thankfully, but very down sometimes. And, I used to go to, when there were movie theaters around, right? I used to go to the movies every Friday night, and that was a thing, right? And, they're not, I guess there's many fewer now today after COVID, but, you got to find who you can talk with, or sometimes you just want to have a coffee and not even talk to someone, or sit in the Starbucks or wherever your spot is and just sit
and
there and
then
watch the crowd.
I mean, you make a really good point there, Eric. I mean, could you imagine a man needs the society of his children, you know? A lot of who we are and our identity comes from how we support our families and how we protect And to go from a house that's loud to one that's quiet must have been very, very difficult, mate. And I can only imagine what that feels like. I know I joke and say that I would often choose a a quiet house. At least one night a week, I would choose it, right?
One
But
night, one
you
seven,
know,
The
14%,
break.
says the accountant.
have that, and then you're right. I mean, you got to get out. You have to just change because we're all on kind of rails. We all
Mm,
go to work, we come back, we choose a coffee shop we like, or we choose a local shop that I like. I know where the pints of milk are in the back of the shop. I know I can get them and be back in my car and be back in my.
mm.
I probably wouldn't have to talk to too many people if I didn't want to. But if you just change one small thing in your routine, you change where the rails go, you just don't know who you're going to meet. It's not about you don't even need to do anything dramatic. Just a couple of small changes, even just a few new faces in your routine could be the difference.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I think so. I won't plug it too much because it's not out yet. But so I wrote a book, and I got it off to my publicist literally yesterday. Got it finished. Hopefully, that's the final edit done. So I'll be receiving my proof copy next week so that I
Cool,
can
man. Dude,
give it the thumbs up and say, boom, let's get it going.
you have a
But
publicist, mate. That's so cool.
I know, do you know, I never thought I'd say that in my life. And actually, another one that I'll throw out there. I started writing. He doesn't know this yet, but I started writing because a very good friend of mine wrote some great books, and I won't kind of go into the details, but we first met. He was talking about these books, US based, uh, money. I would say it's kind of around money, accounting, that kind of stuff, how to be successful, um, and I was like, wow, like don't take this in the wrong way, but like you've got a normal job and you're a normal guy and you're like super awesome and you're so nice to people. And I would never have known that you had all of this kind of fame in a sense from these books that you'd written and you'd managed to go out and help people. So I was quite inspired and I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna write a book and I don't have a copy of it here because I would totally show you, but I wrote a book and I was like, wow, this is fun. And then that one was all about productivity, the first one. And then we got into the charity work and the non-profit. And so then I was like, right, I'm going to write a second book because it's like a bug. You get it and you're like, I'm gonna start writing even more because if five people bought my book, that's five people who have benefited from the information that I had gathered over the last 19, 20 years as a coach and so on and so forth. But then I wrote another one, which will you feed? And this one talks about everything that you have just said. It's about how you can employ goodness into your life, how it can change your life. Where does all this mental fitness come from? It used to be mental health. Where did it start? Millions of people are suffering. 6 million plus men are
Mm.
suffering with some form of anxiety or depression. So you're not alone. But reading it in a book and understanding that you're not alone, that's what I think we need to do as men. That we need to be better at going, we're not alone, we're not cut off, we're not isolated. Actually, you know, on this podcast alone, I reckon at some point the three of us were down, depressed, anxious, whatever you might have been. You cried. That's a big one that people don't
Dude,
seem to want to talk about, but at least at some point in our
man,
lives as
just like
men, the three of
you,
us have done
you're
it.
you're right, mate. Like absolutely, dude. And it's not even just like a big cry or something. It's just like there's a few moments there in your day where you're like, geez, I feel a little tearful. What's
Hmm.
going on there?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
you're like, how long is it gonna feel like that? And then it kind of like a wave. It just crests and then it goes, and then you end up talking to somebody, you're at work or whatever, and then you forget that you felt like that. It just kind of goes away. I can only imagine if it didn't go away, if you just constantly, chronically felt like that, it would be horrible, mate.
But
Um,
Yeah.
that's what we want to provide at Mentality Matters, right? So that there's some outlet, there's some channel to your phrase, Brendan, the rails, right? You get on the rails and you come on a podcast, you listen, you get on a coaching session, at least there's people here, and maybe you're in Ireland, we're in New York right now. Richie's going to be in London shortly, but there's people around who have similar situations, and they care. We care.
Yeah.
Caring is the thing. Caring is the thing that it's not that it's in short supply. It's that it's in short supply in um, government bodies, and it's in short supply in some of the big companies and businesses and stuff. Caring isn't something that a company or a business can really do. It's not a person, really, It's the individuals within. And I think we are individuals. This is a nonprofit. This is something that we're doing. That's the very first thing that we do is care. That's the primacy of it. Everything else happens after that. In fact, nothing else will happen unless the caring part is there, uh, which to me is why it's why I'm here. It's why we are sitting together talking, because I care, man. I don't want anyone to die. I certainly don't
Yeah.
want them to walk past me without a chance of life, you know? And if I look at someone and I think, fuck, that guy's not right, or that girl's not right, I'm gonna take 10 minutes here and I'm gonna dive in and see what I find, And if all I get is like, hey, look, mate, I'm fine, would you piss off? Well, that's okay, but I'm still gonna go for it. And I know you be the same, Rich, Eric, and I know I can tell, man, I know, we only just met there not so long ago, but you've got a really kind heart, mate. I know that you wouldn't let anyone walk past you. That if they even looked like there was a minutia of something that said they needed help, you'd be there. I know that. I know that. And that's what makes us work. And
Yeah.
a lot of the classical places where people go for help, their GP, their general practitioner, what's the waiting list? 6 months to see someone about mental health. You know, it's not that they don't care, it's they don't have time to care. It's and they're so
Yeah.
stressed themselves. Where does the care? Where is the care for the individual? I
Yeah.
it's a pandemic. This problem of apathy. You know,
Yeah.
whether it's true apathy or not, the result is the same: is that people are not getting the care that they need from the traditional places that they go. If I went and I called my doctor and I said I wasn't feeling very well, they'd be like, the first thing they would probably say would be like, "Look, um, sure, I can maybe make an appointment for you next week." You know, do you need me right now? They would push and say, "Do you need me right now? Or are you unwell right now? Or are you doing anything right now?" They might probably try to get to it, but they wouldn't take enough time. They wouldn't take 5 minutes with me to have a chat before I felt comfortable to talk to them
Yeah.
about suicide. They would miss it. They would probably miss it, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And that's for us. That's a great place. We're doing a very short one today. So for everyone who's watching and listening, thank you for doing that. And I really hope you took something away from today. The big takeaway for us is that you're not alone, and talk to someone.
No,
And we have got a WhatsApp group for the nonprofits, where it's for men only. You can come in, you can talk, you can make connections. So look, I will put a link in the description for this so that people can join. But ultimately, just realize that there's a lot of people out there who do give a shit. We do care, and
absolutely.
and that's what it is. Let's just remember that, and then um, just look forward to every day and understand that if you wake up with billions of years that have passed, trillions upon trillions of things had to happen in the exact right sequence for you to be born. So you and yourself are a very special being just for being here, because there was a lot of eggs, sperm, babies, sadly, who didn't make it. So if you're sat here and you're understanding what we're saying, and you're listening and watching, you're special. And that's what we need to all understand, is that we have something to bring to the table. And you might not be, where you want to be in life, but you're definitely where you need to be. And sometimes it's in a shit place, and sometimes it feels dark, but that's where growth happens. And I'll finish off with the saying that I was told: you plant a seed into the ground, and it's pure darkness, and from the darkness sprouts life. So think about that. Think about how important you are, and reach out. We're here. Watch us, comment, and certainly jump on that WhatsApp and give us a shout. But
Absolutely.
gents, we're going to sign off for today. So thank you both for being here again. This is going to be a weekly chat, so jump in, comment. Like I said, if you've got any questions, let us know, and we'll certainly try and answer them. And if you want to come and appear on the podcast, come and do it. If you want to come and talk, if you've got a problem and you want to talk through it, we're coaches, and we can facilitate that. So on that note, gents, have a great weekend, rest of,
Take
and a
care,
great
Richie.
rest
Take
of the
care, Eric.
week. And to everyone who's listening and watching, stay safe.